with the millions.
It's that world heavyweight flow. Championship belt wrapped around my waist, yo. I got that Ric Flair figure four. Slam you on the pavement, that's why they call me street pro. Create heat on beat flow. Like Jordan after the second time he three-peated, folks. Get ready, set, let's go. Fight toe to toe, release the flow created by this mic pro. Lights, camera, get low. Action packed, back to back, in fact this monster will grow. Y'all better let him know. Man with the master plan and you have no need to know. You came prepared, now get ready for the show.
Sports Professor. Oh,
shit. Yo, what up, friends? We're back for another week. Yes, indeed, you know who it is. Omar, the Professor, Fonseca, back with another weekly edition of the Professor's Semanalmente. Just weekly, you marks. That's all that means. It's my weekly news headline show. Today we are going to go through our U.S. world news, and then we will have a special guest joining us today. My brother Amul, Madan, will be joining us to talk about some of the United States news as well as some sports. We're going to talk some baseball and all kinds of good stuff. So get ready for the next hour and 15 minutes of jam-packed news. He'll be on in a few. I had some connection difficulties. So that's what's happened there. Shout out Jennifer Jones. Yes. From Country Box. Oh, that's my girl. She's so cool. Very nice. Hope you had a fun 4th of July. Fortunately, I wasn't able to catch up with you. I was at Aldine's instead of Wallens, but I hope you had fun anyway. Shout out to my brother Bajo tuning in. I see you on Instagram, my brother. Thank you so much. Appreciate you tuning in. All right, cool. Let's go ahead. Make sure you are subscribed at Ballin' Buds, BALLANDBUDS. There's a handy QR code right up there at the top. If you scan that bad boy, it'll take you to our link tree. You can find our YouTube. You can find our Instagram. You can find Clubber D's YouTube and TikTok. You can find you can find our Twitter. It's fine. It's just like postings of shows that are coming up. Not real. I'd rather you subscribe to YouTube. That's the most important. And Instagram's been blowing up a little bit too, so not a bad deal there. So shout out to everybody watching either on Instagram, YouTube, or Facebook. Please hit that like button, whether you're watching now or on the replay. We really appreciate it. It is free to you, but it is invaluable to us. It really helps us out in the algorithm. So if you're watching, please hit that like button. Cool. All right. Let's move it on into the news for today. We are starting out with our world news today because I do want to talk U.S. news with Amul when he comes on, and then some sports stuff. So I scheduled it to do the world news first. So let's get into it. First of all, the Russian-Ukraine war. What are we seeing happening here, folks? Oh, by the way, I do hope you all had a very happy Independence Day. I forgot to say that. Before we even get into the world news, I hope you had an amazing, happy Independence Day. I hope you stayed safe, enjoyed your family and friends, remembered why we are free. Think a soldier, think a veteran, all that good stuff. But I hope you had an amazing, happy Independence Day weekend. I know I did. The fireworks here in Nashville are amazing. And I did the smart thing. And instead of going and standing downtown in 500,000 people, I went right downstairs to the old City Tap rooftop. I sat on the couch where no one else was, kicked my feet up on the table, had me a beer, and watched the show from afar. So it was cool. Anyways, back to what I was doing. I just had to make sure I said that. So what are we talking about here when we look at the Israel and Hamas, Iran situation? We're looking at Russia and Ukraine wars, right? We're looking at all of these different foreign wars all over the world. Now, we heard about all these different ceasefires that were supposed to occur. Let's talk first about Russia and Ukraine. There was a ceasefire, if you remember, I announced on the shows a couple weeks ago, and I said, remember that these ceasefires are very lightweight in execution. These things never last, y'all. They just don't. When you have warring factions, warring countries, warring religions, warring races that have been warring for thousands of years, centuries, you're going to have never-ending wars. And so Russia-Ukraine is more of a goes back to the 50s, not necessarily generationally, but it's still been a long time that they've been doing this sort of thing. Shit. Forget it. Russia fired 322 drones and decoys into Ukraine overnight on Saturday. Ukraine's Air Force said 157 of those drones were shot down, 135 lost, which means they were electronically jammed. No injuries or deaths were reported, but again, when you're getting this information from one side or the other, you got to take it with a grain of salt until there's actually other news sources that verify that information. Ukraine then said it came back and struck Russia's airbase on Saturday. So this is obviously this, not addition is a bad word for it. This segment of this war, these last 3 years, because remember, it has been going on a long time, not since the 50s, like I just stated earlier, more like probably like the 80s, since they were USSR and they broke up, but still, long time. They are going back and forth. President Donald Trump has been pushing for a ceasefire here, but obviously Russian President Vladimir Putin is not listening. Trump has said he's talked to him multiple times on the phone, including this weekend, said he was not pleased with Putin's response. But again, as I said when this started, you're not going to get him to change his mind. I don't know why you're trying to get him to change his mind. He's not going to listen to you just because you tell him to stop the war. He obviously is out for territory of Ukraine, out to demolish and make sure that they are subservient to Russia. President Donald Trump, no matter how much power he has here and around the world, is not going to be able to make Vladimir Putin stop the war. It's just not possible. Just like he hasn't been able to make Benjamin Netanyahu, Prime Minister of Israel, and Hamas stop fighting in Iran. So we are seeing these things over and over. Please do not believe these ceasefires, most of them, even if they come into fruition and actually last for a little length of time, always end up ending anyways years later. So again, we'll keep you updated on all of this, but that is the update there in Russia and Ukraine, because of the fact that also this past weekend, Trump said he had a good call with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. That doesn't necessarily mean anything either, because again, it's not on either one of those. It's on Vladimir Putin and when he feels like ending that war. In other news, in the Israel and Hamas, Israel has sent negotiators to the Gaza Strip to talk with Hamas, because Hamas has come back saying that Israel's demands are unacceptable. The Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, aforementioned, is seeking humanitarian pauses while maintaining military objectives. Kind of hard to do. Can't really say you're going to want to have humanitarian pauses now and then just to go help the civilians that you've been bombing and are killing and dehousing and displacing and all of these other things, and then say that you want to also, it's got to be one or the other. If you're going to continue to bombing them, I mean, the only reason at this point Netanyahu is even letting humanitarian pauses and humanitarian aid going in is because all of the humanitarian organizations around the world have been going at him for a minute now, because of the fact that they have been blockaded from food for 3 months now, at least. When was what are we in now? When was the last time they got a food shipment? It doesn't matter. They've had a blockade in place for a while, and famine started to set in. Women, children, everybody was just getting sick. Some were dying. It was very, very unfortunate. So this definitely needs to come to an end, because those innocent civilians within that area don't deserve to die due to a famine in a war they didn't start and didn't choose to be in. Anyways, moving on. In the same kind of news here, we'll go back a second to where you had the Iran and Israel, where we helped Israel to bomb, and we did bomb as well, Iran. Iran has come out and said they did not agree to give up your enrichment of uranium. President Donald Trump is going to talk to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to see what they can do about it. But Iran is clearly not giving up their nuclear enrichment capabilities. They want to keep developing them. Now, Israel did say they were sending a delegation to Qatar, or Qatar, however you like to pronounce it, after Hamas said it was ready to negotiate on that United States proposed 60-day ceasefire. We will let you know if that actually happens this week, but Iran's supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, has made his first appearance since the 12-day war. I don't know why that's such a horrible name, because then it just started back up anyways, with Israel. So we'll see. Again, I don't expect that ceasefire to last either. I expect bombing to start again at any moment, but I hope not, for the sake of the civilians and the sake of the people that are living there that don't deserve this because they don't even want to be involved in it. In other news, let's go ahead and, well, actually, you know what? On that note, there is a meeting taking place. It's called the BRICS Summit. Now, if you don't know what the BRICS Summit is, the BRICS countries are Brazil, Russia, India, and China. Some of the biggest and emerging global economies in the world. So if you look at these countries, and South Africa, my apology. They added South Africa within the past, 10 years or so. I remember it as BRIC, but it is now BRICS. So anyways, when you look at these are the economies that are the real big global economies that are blowing up. They have had their own global conference now. They're having their annual meeting that they started, and they have continued this year. However, for the first time in a decade, Chinese leader Xi Jinping decided not to attend. This group is a counter group to the G7, which we know the group of seven being the United States, Canada, and the others, Germany, France, otherwise, that are all allied countries. They are aligning themselves and are not very happy with the additional tariffs that Donald Trump talked about this past weekend, which we will get into in just a second. Don't worry, I'm going to give you the tariff updates here when we go to U.S. News. I'm going to bring Amul on in about 5 minutes here once I get done with this world news. But we've got to see, will that actually come to fruition? Again, all of these things around the world, y'all, are so hesitant, so up in the air. So will they, won't they? And we just got to keep you updated and make sure that you're staying aware, staying abreast of those situations. Where's my Beavis and Butthead? That really would have came in handy right at that time if I knew I was going to say that, but I didn't. But I'm still going to play it anyways, because abreast and this sound bite are hilarious together.
Boobs. I just want to say that again. Boobs.
I don't know who remembers Beavis and Butthead, but tremendous, Beavis. Thank you. All right. So, anyways, in other news in the world, the United States is also satisfied with Lebanon's Hezbollah disarmament proposal. So we here in the United States, Washington proposed to Lebanon a way to disarm Hezbollah, another terrorist group. Lebanon actually agreed and was in favor and reacted positively to it, as they want to see Beirut stop being bombed and stop being blockaded by Israel. Another joint Israel-U.S. thing we got going on there. I'm not going to say anything about that, but if you know anything about world news, you can assume whatever you want in that relationship. But Lebanon's government does see it as a diplomatic step amid regional and diplomatic pressures, and they want to actually get the terrorist group out, which is good for us. What else in terrorist news? The security situation has collapsed in Gaza. Remember we were talking about the blockade a couple minutes ago? Well, Hamas has lost 80% of control over Gaza. So, which is good for Israel and good for us, if that's true. But again, we have to remember that even Israel says things that are exaggerated to help their case. They just do. But they do say that the local governance is collapsing amid conflict and power vacuums. We can only hope that to be so. We do not want any of these terrorist organizations around the world being able to operate. That being said, they also said that there is no stopping a civil war against Hamas. The Gaza Strip militia chief warns that fighting Hamas has escalated to civil war levels. So now that means that Gaza factions, military and civilian, are actually fighting back against Hamas, which probably contributed to them losing the 80% that we just talked about of control. Great news if true, but again, we have to see how it plays out. I see my brother Amul just came in. I'm going to get him in just a few minutes. He is there. I want him to know, let him know I see him back in the green room, as we call it, and I'll let him in just a couple minutes. Let me get through the rest of this world news. Also, a new report emerged of the full-scale threat that Iran poses to the United Kingdom. The United Kingdom government warns of Iran-linked cyber attacks targeting national infrastructure. The assessment highlights Tehran's, capital of Iran, increasing aggressive espionage and hacking campaigns. So that's really crazy, and we got to make sure that, this all goes together. All of these terrorist groups, the Hamas and Israel fight, they are aligned with Iran. Iran is fighting Israel. Hezbollah aligned with Iran, right? So all of these terrorist groups are aligned with the country of Iran. That doesn't make all the Iranians bad people. Their civilians are good people. But the people that control the country do a lot of bad things. And those people, people especially that are backed by the Hamas, are terrorists. And they need to be stopped. Because once they can stop Hamas, once they succeed in getting 100% control, right? Remember, we just mentioned they have 80% control. Once Israel, I say we because we're in it with Israel, once they get 100% control, then Israel plans on making the Rafah ruins a humanitarian zone. They propose relocating Gaza's population to a designated zone. I don't like this because it reeks of ethnic displacement. It reeks of removing people and displacing them from the home that they have grown and known their whole lives and do not deserve to be taken from. Now, if you say you're going to move them back in once you've rebuilt, then maybe. But then again, I wouldn't even believe that, no matter who that came from, because we know that world leaders want control, and they want control of it. I mean, it's like a game of Risk. Y'all remember the game of Risk? I know my buddy Amul's about to talk about the game of Risk. I love the game of Risk. All right, the game of Risk, but is taking control of territories around the world. But we are not in the 1500s. This isn't the Ottoman Empire. You know what I'm saying? We cannot just go around conquering territories anymore. There are rules. There are international laws that prevent these, or are supposed to prevent these things from happening. Supposed to. Last bit of news before we go to U.S. news and bring in our guest. The Iran president here alleges that there was an assassination attempt in a Tucker Carlson interview. Now, first of all, I didn't have the Iranian president being interviewed by Tucker Carlson on my 2025 bingo card. I just didn't. Amul, I have to bring you in on this because I just feel like I never thought an Iranian president would be interviewed by Tucker freaking Carlson. Are we literally in the Twilight Zone now? I'm confused.
I was watching a TikTok video earlier today where someone was pitching, saying that we're in the year 2026. I don't know what year we're in. Are we in a parallel universe? Will Matt Smith return as the Doctor? We'll find out after these messages, I'm sure. This month.
No, we're more in like 2136. That's what we're in right now.
I know. It's crazy. What are we doing here? Like, what are we doing? This is a lot like Risk. I'll just piggyback off your earlier comment, but also, do you follow non-context West Wing? It's like an old Twitter/X handle that they still. Okay. There is literally a storyline. It's literally a storyline ripped from the West Wing, season 7, across all of season 7, where it's the same issue: Israel, Palestine, and President Bartlett's trying to solve peace. That's exactly what's happening here. It happened in 2003 when we were in school. There were a lot of riots then. There were a lot of debates then, and here we are. Thanks, Mrs. Fonseca, by the way. Your mom's chiming in, saying she loves our Italian hats.
All right. Cool.
So,
yes, we call her my producer, is what we call her.
Oh,
So that way
okay.
We don't release the government on here because just about the.
My apologies.
You got a
apologies.
job. No, you're good. Do not need to apologize.
Yeah, that's right. I did.
We got matching hats. He's right though. Yes, I love it.
Did you get yours in Italy too? Because that's where I got mine. I saw that you were wearing the hat, and I was like, I've got to come on wearing the hat. I've got to come on wearing the hat.
You would have to ask the same producer where she bought it from.
Okay. All right.
Where is this hat from, producer? Where did you buy me this wonderful Italian-looking hat? She probably doesn't remember anyways. Thank you for joining me, my brother Amul.
You're welcome, bro.
The Agilist. I love that.
Rumors of my demise have been greatly exaggerated. Clever D took me out. And, I mean, thanks to you teeing it up, by the way. You basically were an accessory.
You know how I feel about two teams. And you know how I felt about that for years. You can't do that.
There are other better things to debate, I guarantee you. There are other better things to debate. Especially, coming off what you were talking about, moving people and displacement, it's not a good thing. But right now, this is the world we're living in. And if you go into whitehouse.gov, the social media is a scam to an extent. Like, there isn't a whole lot that, is true to an extent. And someone was saying, and someone was saying you can go to whitehouse.gov and they've removed the U.S. Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. I don't know if this is true at all. I don't know if this is true at all. But I do wish that people would stop posting fake stuff like that. It's one of the reasons I'm not on there all that much anymore, unless I'm posting photos.
You know what? You just teed me up on a perfect topic for.
Perfect.
That's a good topic to talk about in a later show. But let's talk about the stuff we've been talking about now. So, again, as I mentioned, though, right, these ceasefires.
I took notes. I sent you notes.
I appreciate it. I also like how you blocked out the notes like I was going to steal the rest of them. I was like,
that's what's called a tease, my friend. Journalistically, that's what's called a tease. It's great. A lot like when I'm writing the column, when I'm writing my column, and I block off like a third of it because you want people to tune in. So
I was like, wait a second, doesn't he know I know what happened to Mike Rizzo too? I was just laughing so hard on my couch.
Yeah. No, that's okay. That's fine. That's cool.
That's great. In this world that we're in, this geopolitical tension, ceasefires are very lightweight on execution.
Yes.
And the fact that I mentioned this earlier, this is not what I want to ask you. This just adds on to it. But the fact that President Donald Trump thinks he can end these things or create ceasefires without the actual people that are in it wanting the ceasefire does not help anything. It doesn't hurt anything either per se, but it's not like making Vladimir Putin like, oh, I'm gonna stop because Trump told me to. Like, no, he's been doing this forever. He needs to stop when he gets what he wants.
It's admirable, but Bush 1 tried it. Bush 2 tried it. I think Obama probably tried it. Clinton tried it. So you have presidents on both sides of the aisle trying to make peace in the Middle East. It has been our Waterloo. It has been something that we won't be able to do, or maybe we will. Maybe we're gonna. Maybe we both.
That was my question.
Yeah,
My question was: in our lifetime, do we see these endless wars or these forever wars ending? Any of them?
If we have kids, it will probably occur in their lifetimes too. I was just talking with someone recently that about the same exact thing. 20 years ago, I remember on campus at VCU there being massive debates between Israel and Palestine, and I was a student government rep then. You were supposed to attend those, and they got contentious, they got heated, and now with with social media coming up the last decade. It's not last 2 decades. I'm sorry. The debates are now online. They aren't, in public town squares anymore, but digital town squares. And I don't know if it's going to continue or not. I really don't know. I mean, you have, like you said, you had BRICS meeting earlier, so that's going to probably continue. There's going to be more of that. Yeah, because
they're all just against us. It's just everybody who's against us.
Well, it's because of the way our current administration is, portraying itself to the world. If they were a little bit kinder, then a little bit more amenable, then maybe our allies would come to the table. But right now, it's their show of strength. Their show of strength is only helping our stock market. Or only helping the stock market.
I love when my friends can read my mind and they can segue so perfectly for me on these shows. Let's go ahead and move into the U.S. news and talk about exactly how we treat every other country around the world. We've talked about you and I on this program before. So now it comes out they had the 90-day pause. All of a sudden, these tariffs are supposed to kick in. The only two that we found out to actually be announced were against Japan and South Korea. Everything else we heard may possibly get paused again because they're waiting on 12 countries. And it just seems like this is always getting kicked down the road. And this is a secondary conversation that we need to have. First, I want you to address.
Okay.
Because we've talked about tariffs on this program as themselves. So as a form of tariffs, just your thought on that, but also, with the tariffs.
Right.
And I'll talk about, this will become a theme. It's become a theme on my program, but it seems like, and again, for anybody watching, I don't want you to think I'm any supporter. I do not like either party. I think most politicians are bad people. They don't only care about themselves, their constituents. This program is neutral. I am not saying anything against Donald Trump because of the person that he is. I am saying that when he starts to institute these policies, it seems like these policies always end up getting kicked down the road. It seems like, 2 weeks, you'll hear from me in 2 weeks. You'll get my taxes in 2 weeks, 18 years later. So address both of those situations for me and what we're going to see with that going forward.
Tariffs are a tax, full stop. I understand people are going to say tariffs aren't a tax. You are more than welcome to prove me wrong. You and the rest of the United States, because it is in dictionaries that tariffs are a tax. That's just what they are. If you're putting, think about it like this, if you're putting 20, 30, 15% tariffs on another country, that means iPhones, a large majority of this country has iPhones, are going to be more expensive. Android's going to be more expensive. We've already seen eggs go up to $8.99. Now I think, I went to the grocery store earlier today, it's down to $6.49. But, and gas is going to go up. Now that we've got issues in the Middle East where we've got Iran and we're trying to do peace in the Middle East again, it's, right now gas is holding steady. But prices will and do go up. Tickets to games We're both sporting head. We go to sporting events. You have the other shows that you do. All you guys go to sporting events, whether it's wrestling, whether it's baseball, it doesn't make a lick of a difference. It's going to cost more. And to your point about what was the second question? I'm sorry, I was stuck on tariffs and why tariffs.
So how is it? How are our allies and enemies and neutral countries supposed to feel when President Donald Trump seems to keep playing this will I, won't I am, oh no, wait a second, no I'm not. And it seems like they keep also talking about all of these people coming to the table, but then no one came to the table.
I'm going to also take your party line and not talk against the president because of the person that he is. But I think that our allies need to tread carefully. If they want to consider the following example, they may. You're in high school. You like a girl. The girl goes, I'll go out with you. No, I don't want to go out with you. No, I'll go out with you. You tend to leave that girl alone after a while. So, that might be a nice little parallel. And, I'm looking at some of the comments here that are coming in. I kind of agree with them to an extent.
I agree with Michael as well.
I agree with Michael.
It was in the pursuit of cheaper labor. That's exactly.
And there's only so much cheaper labor you can pursue. I think the reason why he's kicking it down the road is because first he's battling with Jerome Powell. You don't battle with Jerome Powell. I'm sorry. He could. I know you and I come up from. We have a rich rap music history between the two of us. But you don't put him on the mic. You don't put JP on the mic because it's not going to work. And there's a reason why he's still Fed chair. And there's talk of a shadow Fed chair. By the way, I don't know if you saw that news that there's a possible shadow Fed chair. But I think the reason, to answer your question, I think the reason why he hasn't done anything is because it affects the markets. And if he's invested, or others are invested, he probably is getting guidance that it's not a good look. Every time he comes out and announces tariffs, the market drops. It dropped, the Dow is down 500 earlier today, I think at noon. So, when you sit there and you say that we're going to be taxing people, that's not a good look globally. And I know the dollar, right. I know the dollar isn't as strong as it once was, but that's a different topic. But you know what I mean.
Again, it's just the in out. Will I? Won't I? I'm gonna threaten you with this, but then I'm gonna pull back. I'm just gonna ruin the world markets for a few days and then continue on like nothing happened. And it's that messes with everybody, not just our enemies. It messes with us too. And you're right. We do need to be more self-reliant, Michael. The problem with that is that Americans don't want to pay those prices. So until you, Amul, me, Michael, whoever else want to actually pay more for iPhones, pay more for Androids, pay more for cars, that are, by the way, better than we can make here. Let's be honest as well. It wasn't just cheaper labor. It was also that Japanese cars were way better than American cars in terms of quality and length of life. It's proven fact. Yeah. So, yes, we need to be more self-reliant, but also Americans would need to eat that cost in future.
And to Michael's point, where's the manufacturing? We have a dearth of manufacturing. We told individuals who were manufacturers, we can retrain you in IT. I mean, that's a win for my industry because, it's nice to have more people in IT. But IT jobs are now also getting shipped overseas because of cheap labor. So, it's just something that...
And let's be honest, that's just something that Americans do not excel in.
No, it's not.
I mean,
it's not.
Without getting into the stereotypes of
let's not do that.
It's just that I'm in it, and that's exactly right. We don't. We'd rather have the cheap iPhone or the cheap car or the cheap Android. Yeah, I get it. I agree. My producer always on point. So let's move into something else then, because with that, Donald Trump did finally get his It's not even the big beautiful bill anymore. It's not allowed to be called that. They had to strike that down in
They
a
did?
moment of pettiness by Chuck Schumer. Yeah, Chuck Schumer entered a bill, there was a way where he could strike down the name and make them change it. And it was the last thing he did. It was so petty.
That's great.
So petty.
I actually had Trump's BBB in my notes because I didn't know that Chuck. That's petty. That's also gangster to an extent. It
was petty, but I apprecited the pettiness.
Yeah.
It's not the big beautiful bill.
Yeah.
Anymore.
Okay. Well, it is what it is. That's fine.
Anyways, this did get signed into law on Friday, July 4th, by the time that he wanted. Now, we have talked about this on this program before.
Yes, we have.
And while, yes, it will lower taxes for the average American up to $2,000 to $3,500 on average for most Americans. It will also cut taxes. Now, when I say, I'm going to say cut taxes for the wealthy as well, but I did watch Treasury Secretary Scott Fonseca in an interview the other day, which said that the top percent was actually going to 40 from 35, would be a raise in taxes. So I can at least think that that's a good idea. I think the richest people should pay more, obviously. But anyways, this really does cut out from a lot of people who are getting Medicaid, SNAP benefits.
Yes, it does.
Talked about, which, by the way, I saw a map earlier that most SNAP benefits go to red states.
Yes.
So a lot of Trump supporters are going to be losing their SNAP and Medicaid benefits. Let me give a couple more facts on this, and I'm going to come to you. Under the new law, this is from Penn Wharton, the top 20% of their earners will see their net income increase nearly $13,000 a year. The top 0.1% will gain more than $290,000 a year. Well over $3 trillion would be added to the deficit over the next 10 years. And the law also makes cuts to the, as we mentioned, Social Security net, SNAP benefits, Medicaid. Up to 7.8 million people could lose their health insurance by 2034. SNAP could affect more than 40 million people. Older Americans have access to bonuses to help defray senior Social Security taxes, but over time that's going to go away. What is this bill going to cause to American people?
Heartache and strife. I have a different number, but I'll go with your number because it's
give me your number.
The number that I have with CBO says 3.4 trillion will be added to the Fed deficit over the next 10 years. This is from CBS News.
I had the same. I just said 3.
Okay, I'm okay with what you had. That's fine. I have green energy policies will be ended. There will be limits on OT and tips deductions, although that may work initially, but we'll see how it plays out in the long term. And just a side note that I added in here that I wanted to see an end to tip culture that we can talk about. But because Australia does it right, I think. But it's going to cause a lot of heartache and strife. You're seeing a lot of people on, I decried social media earlier, but it was on social media, a lot of people in red states who were saying, hey, I read the bill. I don't like what's in the bill. And by the way, the limit on taxes being decreased, I think for single people, I think it's either $135K annually or $150K annually. So if you make over that, you're getting taxed. There's
which I mean, let's be honest. I mean, those people who are making 150, they're not rich.
They're not rich. They're not rich at all. Not today. I mean, maybe in the 80s, but not now. They were Gordon Gekko rich in the 80s, but
what a great reference, my friend.
Wall Street money never sleeps, right? But it's a lot of heartache, a lot of strife. We don't know how we know how things are going to play out when it comes to the midterms, but you don't really know what's going to happen in the next election cycle. If there's going to be another election cycle, because we've yet to see, it honestly feels like he came into power in November, right? So it honestly feels like it's been a couple of years. Like, I mean, we both have families. We both you spend time with families. Time slows down a little bit. It has felt like a couple years. I'm going to be honest with you. It's felt like a couple years since he's come into office with the amount of changes that he's made. And
yeah, I think that's for everybody too. I think that's for his supporters too. I think that's for
and
it's just like a lot.
I wish people would, at least, if you're not going to read the full bill, I get it. It's boring. It's a lot like Tolstoy. I completely understand it. It'd be the same way you turned away from Moby Dick in high school, probably. I get that. Read the Cliff Notes at least. I read the Cliff Notes because I'm not. The only thing I'm going to take time for reading is once the Supreme Court is balanced again, and I'll read the decisions coming out there. But until then, I've sort of boycotted the court because of the way they're acting. Biggest thing what
do you think of this? I agree completely with term limits. I believe that, first of all, there should be no politicians over the age of 70, regardless. I think after 75, you should have to retire from the government.
I'd be okay with that.
I think I could even go 75 at the oldest, but that would have to be it, because at that point, your ideas are not the ideas of the new America.
No, they're not.
At that point, America is a new generation by that point.
And there comes a point when you have to retire.
Term limits.
There comes a point when you have to retire too.
All politicians.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. There should be, there should be term limits, 100%. I mean, there's still people in office who I was on their campaigns when I was like, in like 19, 20 years old. Like, at some point you have to reinvent yourself. You have to do other things. And you okay? And
yeah, I was laughing.
Okay. And so you do have to reinvent yourself. You do have to be a better person. There's this line of thought that's from I ripped it straight from Doctor Who, but basically, like, you change every time you regenerate. Okay, cool. Like, every now and again, like, I'm in my early 40s. At some point, I'm probably going to need to reevaluate who I am and change who I am, make myself better. Be like, okay, I can't do what I did before. That's what these politicians have to do. And, if they're not going to have term limits, Congress isn't doing anything to set term limits. That's the problem. Like, they don't want to do any of that. And
because they all want to keep their jobs for life. But
the thing is you're going to get voted out if you don't move things forward. Now, if you think you're moving things forward with, well, whatever Chuck Schumer wants to call this bill now, then by all means, go right ahead and feed into the Lulu, by all means. But at some point, I think I'm not going to, I think they'll agree with me. The Timmy Kanes, the Mark Warners, Dick Durbin, I think, is now retired. Just, it's okay. Like, you can move on and do other things.
We all got to move on at some point. Father time calls us all. The athletes, they got to be gone by 40. We don't get to have. I can't have me and Amul as Boston fans. We didn't get Larry Bird till he was 80. We lost him to the back at 35. Like,
and I mean, LeBron James isn't going to stay in the league forever. Like, I think next year is his last year for sure. I think at least that's the way it's. We can talk about that in sports, because he did sign his deal, but his deal only left him as an unrestricted free agent next year, which probably means either retirement or having to go somewhere he may not want to go. So we'll talk about that a little bit. Yeah, that's fine. No more sourcing politicians when drinking at the bar, sir. Apparently that's where they all meet and commingle. You would have to ask. Okay, look, Mike, they did redo Hawk and Dove, so we don't do that anymore. They did turn Hawk and Dove. Hawk and Dove, no lie, was an establishment where you source politicians while drinking at a bar. It was in the back room, and I think that back room still exists, but they redid the main floor. So it's more of an upscale establishment now. 900 pages. I don't know. 900 pages. And I don't even read the instructions. That's a good one. See, I read the instructions just so I don't have to deal with it later. But Michael's right, though. Like, how often do we actually read like the terms and conditions of the apps that we download.
No, not at all.
You know,
I don't have time for
did
that.
AOC work? Okay, I'm not going to answer that question.
Whoa! You can't put that on
Yeah,
there.
you can't answer. I'm not going to answer that question. Okay. I will plead. I will plead the fifth and move to strike it from the record.
I'm starting to get some momentum on this show. I'm trying.
He's not trying to get canceled. Like, we appreciate the effort. We appreciate the effort, though. I do. We do appreciate.
So moving on from that, though, billionaire Elon Musk has now come out and said because of this bill that he now wants to create a new political party called the American Party to challenge the two-tier system in America. He also says that it would not be obviously feasible for it to be a full-flung political party which would compete everywhere. But he says if he can get 8 to 10 House seats and 2 to 3 Senate seats that he could target for kind of like takeover, that he would be able to start implementing policies that he would be looking to implement after this bill that, boosted up the deficit or is going to boost up the deficit. What do you think about this new America Party?
We were 10 when Ross Perot was around. How'd that go? How'd that go? And to Mike's point, yes, I did watch. I did watch Don't Look Up.
I do want to pay. I do want to at least play a little bit of advocate there.
Go ahead,
because
we should do a point counterpoint segment.
Yes. I mean, let me counterpoint that real quick. That's counterpoint that. I don't know why I just didn't say that, but yes. It didn't necessarily do much in terms of becoming a major political party that had influence like the Republicans or the Democrats. But over time, we've seen the independent parties, the Libertarians, the Green Party, et cetera, that have come along and maybe have not become a major party, but what a great word, bifurcation. But they have made at least a little bit of a dent. They have been able to implement policies in places. They have been able to take vote counts away from more popular parties. So yes, while it probably won't become a third party, so to say, where they're all 33%, there is nothing that says that they can't make an impact.
I think we're more independent as a nation now than we were during the Obama years. And I'm not necessarily, I was sort of being catty before and glib with, that's a nice word, glib.
That's a great word. You're just dropping the vocab right now, my friend.
This is why you have me on, is to raise the level of literary.
I use it. I mean, first of all, no. You know better.
I know. I was messing with you. I've watched your show when I'm not on. It's
if I was E40, I'd say something like my vocab the size of the Grand Canyon. You know what I mean? Like, come on now, don't try that with me. I used to study the dictionary.
I know you did. You know. Okay. Anyway,
I did good work.
Yeah, thank you.
Let's keep it moving.
No, it's you. But I forgot what the question was about. Geez, this is what happens when we're on.
We're talking about the America Party.
So I wouldn't want Elon to run it. I would want someone else to run it. If there's going to actually be a third independent party, and they should actually truly wholeheartedly be independent. What I mean by that is they didn't work in, this administration. I know why he's doing it. I get why he's doing it. All respect to him. He's to a certain degree, he's made good decisions over his career to a certain extent. Some missteps, but we all make mistakes in life. And so, I think that if there's going to be a third party, that it should be wholeheartedly independent. I forgot you could have Bernie Sanders lead it, sure, because he's independent, but then again, he caucuses with the Democrats. So,
And he's just too old. I don't think he would actually be.
Well, I don't know who else would be who's declared independent. That would be, so I'm just naming him,
Right.
Off the top of my head. But it would have to be someone who is wholeheartedly independent, and we've yet to see that. But I will say this to your point, and maybe to Elon's to an extent, that this whole generation that's coming up behind us, if they have to keep enduring what they're enduring now, that we might have more independent thinkers in the long term, as opposed to those that side with Democrats, those that side with Republicans. And if that's the case, hey, that's fantastic. Marty the Crypt Keeper. I should tell him that.
He's old. He's old, brother. He is.
Look.
He's old. Nothing to say about that. But you know what? Hey, he has a lot of good ideas that could have helped.
He's around just so that we can have memes of him sitting in a chair, looking cold. Like, that's his goal.
That was so great. That was
that's why he exists.
That was so
but yeah, I don't think it would be a good idea for Mr. Musk to. I think Musk should focus on shuttles that don't blow up first before he focuses on another party. As an avid space nerd, if he was smart at all and intelligent just a wee bit, he'd focus on that and try to get us out of lower. What that sound was, I was like, "What's going on?" Trying to get us out.
It was supposed to be an explosion. It was supposed to be an explosion, but it didn't.
Was that supposed to be for like a truth bomb or something?
No, it was supposed to be because you said he was crashing.
He was. Anyway, my point is this, ladies and gentlemen. Like, if he can focus on that, as opposed to, once again, splitting his focus, bifurcating his own focus, and just going, hey, I want to do this and do that. He is that billionaire who can focus on a single issue and be really good at it, whether it's Teslas, whether it's space shuttles, whatever. I'm sure he can do other things too at the same time, but I just don't think he's the right person to lead the independent party.
Yeah, I don't think he has time or would do it anyways. He would probably have somebody else do it. But again, he'd be just targeting different districts and Senate seats and just he could just implement his own people and kind of just let them work it themselves. But there was 1.2 million people that voted in his poll to see if they wanted it, and 65.5% were actually in favor of this.
I mean, we're at a point. I was talking to another good friend of mine, like staunch Democrats, sure, but I think we're more independent than we used to be. In that, like, it's just, to have that independent line of thought, to think about the way, our lives have been and the amount of, world disasters that we've had to endure, and they are world disasters. I'm not just, doing that to be glib, but like, I'm saying that the amount of world events that we've had to live through as millennials, elder millennials now, like, we need some solace that the future is going to be okay for those that have kids and for those that don't, or at least not yet.
Yep. No, I definitely agree. Let's see. He can't even level. Well, yeah, of course. He wouldn't know how to control anything like that.
The dude's social security number is 1. Oh, Mike.
All right, cool. Well, thank you so much for your obviously your ideas and your expert analysis on
Happy to help.
U.S. and world news. Really appreciate that. Everybody, make sure you subscribe at Ball and Buds, BALLANDBUDS. Handy QR code up there. Please subscribe on YouTube, follow on Instagram, all that good stuff, and as well hit that like button if you're watching. Please, it helps us out in the algorithm. So make sure you hit that like button, whether watching now or on the replay. And now, look, I love talking to y'all about news and making sure that you're informed about the world. That's why I do those topics. But the actual fun stuff is when we get to talk some sports. So let's get into the actual sports of the day. And we're going to get into the big news of the week. The MLB, hold on, let me get to my slide that I did. The MLB All-Star.
This was also that was also the big news of the week, the last slide.
Oh yeah, they were all
Yeah.
big news. Let's see. Hold on. Producer chiming in. We need to respect individuals no matter what party they are. Everyone brings opinions to help the country. We are still a free country. Agreed. 1,000%. Thank you, producer. I appreciate you chiming in with that. That is so correct. Not even close to that is 100% correct. All right. Let us look at our all-star teams. These are your starters for the Major League Baseball All-Star Game. We have our American League and our National League. Let's go ahead and run through these, and we'll get Amul's opinion along the way. First of all, let me announce here first that the sports professor, Ball and Buds, will officially be at the All-Star Game covering it in Atlanta. So make sure you watch the live videos and everything because I will be there. I got seats. We got some hookups on some seats right next down to the field, so it's going to be amazing. I'm going to go holla at Francisco Lindor and Pete Alonso and Edwin Diaz, and we're going to have a good time. Anyways, let's go ahead and look at this. First, that's by the way why I'm doing this show with you this week, because I was going to do it next week, but I'm going to be in Atlanta, so that's why I'm doing this one this week. Oh, which by the way also reminds me, tune in Wednesday to another MLB talk. We're going to have an MLB midseason review. I brought Amul here because he knows news too, so I can do a whole show with him. But this is strictly going to be baseball with a few other buddies. So we're going to have our MLB insider Mike Wiebe, MLB insider Shane Peacher from Ball and Buds as well, and then as well the Lion Reese Penn from the Rec Room will be joining us as well. We'll be talking baseball 8 Eastern on Wednesday, so check us out then. All right, let's get into this. American League starters. First of all, the story of the season so far, the Big Dumper. Yes, that is his name. The Big Dumper, Cal Raleigh, the Seattle Mariners catcher with 33 home runs on the year, leading the league. How do you feel about the Big Dumper's year so far?
I love that he's actually he's hitting. I love that he's doing more than just hitting contact, because for a while I thought that's all he did, and now I'm just like, okay, he's a nice. Because I was in Seattle in 2017. I forgot who the catcher was then, but he's a nice successor to whoever was the catcher back then. And really, honestly, I'm gonna move this over to the second screen real quick. There's a bunch of new folks. I just want to bring that up. There's a bunch of kids who are brand new, and they just are, we're ready to see them shine. That's kind of where we are right now.
Yeah. So a couple of them, Ryan O'Hearn, DH. Obviously, you got Riley Green for Detroit there in the outfield. You got Jacob Wilson, who's the leader in the clubhouse for Rookie of the Year for the Athletics, hitting .330. Now, granted, they play in a minor league part, so I don't know if that needs to be taken away from that. But well, he's hitting great anyways. You got Gleyber Torres on a reunion, on a something tour, a re-identification, what was the word I'm looking for, Mr. A redefinition.
A rejuvenated year.
A rejuvenation.
A rejuvenated year. Yeah.
After some down years, he's starting. You also have the ever-present Jose Ramirez, always an all-star. Vladimir Guerrero, always an all-star. Javier Baez, Puerto Rican, my Boricua brother, finally also having a rejuvenated season. And finally, Aaron Judge, one of the best hitters on the planet, was hitting almost 400 for a little bit there, now down to about 350. That's your American League starters. How do you feel about the as he gets moved around there, the American League side? How do you feel about that? Yes, I love it.
I had to change the hat. I was like, okay, I had to match the vibe, otherwise it's not going to make much sense. No, great. I love that there's a bunch of new kids. I kind of feel bad a little bit for Juan Soto. I know that's National League, but I kind of feel a little bit bad for Juan Soto, but he's had a down year.
He had a slow start.
He always has a slow start. You can always say he's like Rafael Devers. You can always say he's got a slow start for so long.
And so did Lindor, and he didn't get to be on the team for 3 years.
Yeah,
there, so.
I mean, I think that this is who I want to know who's pitching. I don't know I don't know if they've announced who's
the starter is The starter's probably going to be Tarek Skubal, I would assume.
Okay, and
because he's having the best year in the
I
AL.
want him to be my Cy Young, honestly. I think he could easily win Cy Young. He could easily win MVP. I would love to see the Detroit team the Tigers get some recognition because they're running away with it. I have a stat here. The Tigers clawed back from a sweep after being down to their last strike just recently. This is yesterday. And I'm just like, all right, like if the Tigers are going for it all and, are going for the World Series, then, that'd be cool. Although I was going to ask what you thought of a possible, Subway Series redo, but I don't know if you think that's going to happen anytime soon.
I mean, I would love it to happen because I wanted it to happen last year, and when I thought that it might happen, I actually have bought tickets for me and my dad to go to Citi Field to watch Game 1. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. We got eliminated by the Dodgers, but I would love to see a Subway Series or any series involving the Mets in the World Series. But I do think that the Detroit Tigers obviously are having an amazing year, really playing above their heads. They've got a lot of good players. We mentioned Baez, we mentioned Green, we mentioned Tarek Skubal. He is the reigning Cy Young. If he won it again and the MVP, that would be crazy. So they have a really good team all around them, but still, you can never count out the Yankees.
No.
You can never count out the Dodgers. Those are teams that you're just not going to count out in the end. So, do I hope my Mets are there? Sure. But what I would more expect every year would be a Yankees-Dodgers World Series than I would anything else, at least for the foreseeable future.
I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that because after how many years?
Well, like I said, I would like it.
I know. But I was gonna say, we just make the parallel between the Cavs and the Warriors that we had for 4 years in the NBA Finals, and then finally just it died its death. But back to the All-Star game. I just couple quick questions for you. Are you sitting on the third base side or the first base side? I lived in Atlanta for a year. And I attended a couple games at that park. That park is beautiful. Go to the museum that's all along the first baseline. Yeah, you were going to. If you're going with your pops, you will love it, 100%.
Sweet.
And be mindful of the cow in right center. It is a Chick-fil-A ad. It is a scary cow. The way they did it, it's the one defining feature of that park that I loved. And I was there with friends, and they laughed. They were looking at me as I was laughing, and I was like, that cow. They're like, what about that cow? And I was like, it's scared, like a baseball or something. And they couldn't understand it. And I was like, let me just take a picture and show it to you. They're sitting right next to me. How do you not see it with your own eyes? But that's okay. That's fine. You'll love the park, by the way. You will love the park.
No, I hate the Atlanta baseball team, but I look forward to actually seeing the park and enjoying the history. And I hear it's a very nice park, like you said. So we'll see. But we're sitting on the third base side. By the way, view will be a tiny bit obstructed from seeing the scoreboard.
Okay. Oh, okay. All right.
But I don't care about that. I want to see the field. I don't care about the scoreboard. And we're very close to the field, so that's all that matters. I think we're like 10 rows back from the field.
Oh, you're gonna love it. You'll love it, 100%.
Awesome. All right, well, let's move into our National League. Oh,
I was just going to say you're going to want to ask, what does for the A mean? That's something that happens down there. I know.
I'm not going to do that because, I'm not going to want to have to fight somebody when I tell them, screw the Atlanta baseball team. So I'm going to keep my mouth shut and try to remain as innocuous and inconspicuous as possible about those people.
I did not fight you when I was down there, by the way. When I asked the same question.
Well, I'm a Mets fan, and I'll be wearing all my Mets.
Oh, God. Be careful.
Let's go. Yes. All right, cool. So let's look at our National League starters.
Yeah.
Obviously, Shohei Ohtani, there's no doubt about him being, the best baseball player in the world, now back to pitching as well.
Yes.
He will be the starter at DH.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Dodgers galore here. Will Smith at catcher and Freddie Freeman at first base.
Mm-hmm.
I will say I do not agree, and not just because I'm a Mets homer, but I do not agree with the Freddie Freeman pick because Pete Alonso is having an all-around better year in hitting.
I would agree with that. I think he was a sentimental favorite. But I don't understand the need to stack the lineup with three. We're not playing in LA. So right. You could have easily, put Pete Alonso in there, or if you wanted to be a real sentimental favorite, put whoever the Atlanta first baseman is nowadays. But
the fact that we don't know who that is a problem.
Yeah.
They're not going to be in the All-Star game. But speaking of sentimental favorite, did you hear that Clayton Kershaw is going to be playing as the commissioner's selection?
Yeah, he's like the legend pick. And I'm like,
yeah,
okay, that's a choice. That's not a choice I would have made, but I wonder why
he got his 3,000 strikeout.
He did. That's great. But you're headed towards a lockout in 2 years. You're headed towards a lockout in 2 years. Wouldn't you want to curry favor? Like, the lockout's going to be worse than the NBA. The lockout's going to be worse than the NHL. Had no four. Like, are you going to really, is now the right time to do something like this?
Got it.
But I don't.
Okay, let's keep it moving. Oh, go ahead.
No, it's fine. I wanted to use it. It looks like PCA is in the outfield.
The bane of my existence for the next 10 years, PCA, who was a Met and got traded to the Seattle Mariners for 1 year of roided up Robinson Cano. So just want to say I hate that. But anyways, yes, PCA, future MVP is there. Kyle Tucker, also a Chicago Cub in the outfield. Ronald Acuna. How crazy is that? Acuna was hurt for like the first quarter of the season, but he's come back and had 9 home runs and like a 1.13 OPS over like 19 games. So they put him as a starter. That's crazy. Now we are in Atlanta.
Yes.
But, yeah. He was injured for a whole damn quarter.
Yeah, that's mad. That's absolutely mad. Like, and add to the fact, I just Googled this too, by the way, that, it's okay, fine. Like, you need at least a Brave, but like, you can put Matt Olson in there. Matt Olson's their first baseman. I know. I forgot
that. I should have remembered that. I'm mad. I forgot that.
It's okay. Anyways, I'm not mad.
That's so sad.
There's so many things that anyway, but it's both All-Star games or both All-Star lineups are stacked with young talent, which is the way they're going this year. And, we have 3 folks from my beloved Sox that are on there. I don't think you have any Nationals whatsoever. Or you might have one, maybe. But
you're going to have one, at some point.
Will we?
Let's see. Who's the Nationals?
Wasn't there a year when they didn't have any Pirates or something? There was 1 year where they didn't.
No.
I could have sworn that.
No.
But
there's a rule that you have to have at least one. By the way, here's your Nationals.
Okay.
James Wood as outfielder is in the reserves.
Oh, perfect. He's good.
And also reliever Mackenzie Gore, who you traded for.
He's our starter.
Soto.
Yeah, he's our starter. He's actually going to get – I think he's going to get traded. That's what I'm hearing, that he's going to get traded because he's our only trade chip. Like, we're not trading James Wood. They're not trading James Wood right now. I said we. Sorry.
So speaking of that, let's talk about this. The Nationals fired both general manager Mike Rizzo and manager Dave Martinez, championship GM and manager, by the way. But the Nationals have sucked for a few years now and are 37-53 this year with no chance in God Green Earth. How do you feel about your Nationals making this change now when this probably should have been made 2 years ago?
I was in New England rooting for the Sox, drinking a Sam and just enjoying I apologize to my fellow Nats fans. I do. But when you're –
and here's where the 2 teams –
But when –
because you can't even – you're not even upset.
upset.
You should be upset. You should be upset.
I'm not even upset. Listen, I'm not even upset. When Sedane Rafaela hit that home run, my first thought went, that sounds about right. That sounds about right. So, I mean, I could get into it with you on the Sox. We have so many changes we need to make. But to your point about the Nats, it was a move they had to make. I wish they would have kept Rizzo, although from conversations I've had with other Nats fans, it was clear that both had to go. Okay, fine, whatever. We weren't the Nats weren't performing. You can only call it a rebuild for so long. And, you know, when you're rebuilding forever, you know, when you strip down the team, the 2019 the team to, you know, its studs, and you don't build it back up the same way, you know, it's 2025. Like they're lucky that they're going to have a fighting chance in 2030, maybe, at this point. Also, and it's all on the ownership. It's all on the ownership. And I think from what I hear, the ownership is going to wait until after the lockout to sell because they want to get to the $3 billion number. But yeah, no, I didn't say anything purposefully on social media. I listened, I watched and I listened when I was in New England, and just, it was blissful. I'm just going to say that.
Yeah. And that's what happens, everybody in the public. When you have two teams, you can just say, I don't care when one team has a problem.
Listen,
because you have the other team.
Listen, 2009, you went with me when the Nats were playing. You saw me wearing a Nats shirt and a Red Sox jersey. Like, I was unabashed.
And I questioned you
then.
then.
You did.
And I question you now. And I question you forever. Okay. Damn it, man. Shout out to my Mets. Francisco, hit me up. Paquito.
I have a Mets question for you. Moving as we keep this moving. Yes. Will your beloved Mets overtake the roided out Phils?
I don't know. The Phils. That's funny you said that. The Phils are. They're playing really good ball. Yeah, they must be roided to be playing as well as they are. Yeah. But no, they are playing good ball. And I don't know. We'll see. It's going to be a tough. I thought the Braves would be in it too, but with all the injuries they had, it looks like it's just going to come down to us and the Phillies at the end. I obviously hope we can hold them off, but lately we have not been playing well. Our offense has gone off the deep end. We've had like almost half of our team or a quarter of our team has gone to IL. Yeah. So we're just not doing well right now. So it is what it is. We'll see.
I mean, I'm hopeful that you guys have a second half swing or something and overtake them, because I don't like it when the Phillies are winning the division. Just personally, I prefer not. But I want to get your thoughts.
No one likes the Phillies.
I want to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah. My thoughts are no one likes the Phillies. Screw the Phillies. All right.
Hey, did we talk about Jackson Chourio making his All-Star debut? Do you want to bring that up?
No.
Do you want to bring?
Please go ahead.
So I think that's worthy of note that he's making his All-Star debut, and that he's one of the new cream that's coming up. Well, cream of all young talent that's coming up. I do think. And something else that I put in here, I sort of called it. I called the segment that I named it was "What Happened to." So the Cubs doing really well going into the All-Star break. The Orioles just after the last 2 years of 101 wins and 91 wins, just not doing so hot this year, and I'm wondering whether they're going to be able to pick it up, only because we know that they're better than the Rays. We, as in the regular baseball, baseball fans know that they're better than the Rays. It'd be nice to see them do well. Maybe challenge the Yanks. I mean, I'll leave the Sox where they are right now, unless you want me to go off on them. But
the Sox suck. I mean, you can talk about them as much as you want. I can't believe they traded a third franchise player away in the past.
They're up 5-2 against the Rockies right now. That's the game that I have on in the background. So I think that the Sox ending the Nats hopes and dreams also sort of revitalize their season a little bit. And we'll see where things go. I don't expect us to make the playoffs. If we make the playoffs, it'll be like as a second or third wild card or whatever we've got now. But it's going to be a interesting second half. I think. I just think we might trade some people. So.
I mean, you're going to have to trade people. The Nationals definitely will be sellers. The Mets, Yankees, Dodgers, otherwise will be buyers. Yes. Jackson Trio, great young player. I'm excited to see all the young players there, and especially my Mets, and especially just the game. I've never been to an All-Star game.
Take
so
a ball.
Will be my first time.
Do you want some advice?
I'm just very excited.
You want some advice? Because I went to the All-Star game in D.C. I went to the home run derby, and I went to the All-Star game. Take a ball, or a hat. Mm-hmm. Whatever hat you're not going to wear, especially if you get Edwin Diaz's auto. And basically, if there's a fan fest right before, so go to the fan fest, wherever that fan fest is.
Okay.
Look it up. Seriously, I don't know where it is, but it's going to be in Midtown probably. And, go and just get balls autoed and get hats autoed and just have a ball. Seriously, I took my sister during for the fan fest, and she got a ball from I forgot his name. I'll have to text it to you later. And I got they're both from Hall of Famers, basically. We both got autos from Hall of Famers. And
wow. Nice.
Yeah. Gibson. She got one from Gibson, and I got one from I don't remember.
Wait, from Bob
Yes.
Gibson? She got an autograph from Bob Gibson? Oh, that's so freaking amazing. Shout out your sister.
Well, I was with her. I was with her, and I was just like, that's Bob Gibson. You should get an auto from him. She goes, okay, what do I do? And I go, just you talk to him. You say, hey, how's it going? And,
Were they charging for the autographs or what?
No, ticket was like $25 to get in. This is in D.C., so I don't know what it's going to be like in Atlanta. But definitely look that up, seriously, because you're going to have a ball. You're going to have a blast.
Okay.
And
it's
just going to be – you're going to be thanking me a lot later next time we meet. You'll just be texting me.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'll thank you now. Thank you. All right, cool. Well, that's that. That's our cover of the MLB All-Star Game. I will be there next week, so make sure you subscribe to Ball and Buds, BALLANDBUDS. I'll put all the videos on YouTube, but I go live on Instagram. So if you like the live videos, I'll be there on Instagram for pre-recorded, and live streams like this, those go on YouTube. So make sure you subscribe to both. I'll be in at ATL on Monday.
Sweet George's Juke Joint and Miss Mary Mac's Tea Room, both recommendations for you, sir.
Can you text
Yes, of course. I'll text you everything I got in Atlanta. Seriously, I got people in Atlanta. I got Ludacris in Atlanta. That's what I got. I got Ludacris in Atlanta.
Very nice. Well, here, let's move on to the next topic. Kevin Durant's trade was finally agreed to, and wowzers.
Yeah.
A 17 trade, a record in the NBA. This is what a 17 trade looks like. What are your thoughts? I've given my thoughts on this trade. I think Kevin Durant is the perfect piece that Houston needed with that young, athletic defensive team. Ime Udoka coaching there. I don't believe that Phoenix got enough with Jalen Green. It gives them a bunch of guards. They're going to have to get rid of Bradley Beal, who apparently they're buying out, as the news was today. So, what do you think about this?
I think you and I both also got traded in this deal. I think we also did. So I'm going to go to the Minnesota Timberwolves, everybody, just because they have a cool logo. And I think I can wear the jersey 23 and still play like Jordan. But look, this is a good trade, I think, for the Suns, who desperately need it. They need to get under the second apron. A lot of teams need to get under the second apron. And you're sitting here. What I'm finding is that you had a lot of teams go, let's spend, let's do a lot of things. And now a lot of teams are readjusting either because franchises are going to get sold, like the Celtics readjusted because that franchise is going to get sold or has been sold.
The second apron is not going to ever allow for dynasties to happen again.
It really won't. It really won't. And you're not going to be able to have like just stellar. You're going to have to reinvent yourself. Here goes that term again. You're going to have to reinvent yourself every couple of years or every 10 years or whatever the time frame you want to put on it, so that you can actually stay within that constraint. Otherwise, you're going to have a problem. I like the KD going to Houston. I do. I find it funny, honestly, that Bradley Beal is going to get bought out because I think he wanted to stay there. I'm going to mention a couple other things, if that's okay. I think that Dame should absolutely sign with the Celtics because 2026 looks promising. Yes.
So you're looking at Dame signing with the Celtics to take off a year with Tatum and then come back as a Dame Lillard, Jaylen Brown triple header?
I think
I don't know how you work those salaries though.
We can see if he wants to take a salary pay cut. We'll see, but maybe sign him to a 1 year.
He's getting the money from Milwaukee.
He is, yeah. And I also want to say this: I am a huge Giannis fan. But they are messing with his career. He needs to leave and leave immediately.
Wow.
Go to New York, get a couple chips in MSG. Why not? Why not?
Okay.
Why not? Because I mean, honestly, what are you doing in Milwaukee? You've already gotten a chip there. So if you don't have a running mate, if you don't have two running mates, if you don't have a freaking bench, you're worse. You're no better than the Wizards. The Wizards can beat you if you're not in the lineup. And you know the Wizards. The Wizards have barely anything right now. I think I'm on the Wizards for some reason. I think I'm their starting point or their starting point guard right now.
Probably
are. But and Paolo getting extended by the Magic, I think was the right move. But
what'd you think about them trading for Desmond Green from the Memphis Grizzlies?
You mean Bane?
Desmond Bane. Yeah, I said Green. I think Draymond Green. Desmond Bane. I'm sorry.
Bane. That was a decent trade. That's fine. That's okay. I wonder if it's gonna work out for the Magic, and if he's gonna be okay with the minutes that he's gonna have there in Orlando, and the minutes that he doesn't have, he can easily go to, Harry Potter World or Disney World or wherever he wants to go. But I just feel like I don't know. It just feels to me like a lot of teams are readjusting around the league. I thought for a minute, honestly, with the Cam Whitmore signing, that the Wizards have a center, and then I find out he's 6'7". No, don't pitch me that he's a center when he's 6'7". Don't do that. Don't do that BS to me. Because, I mean, I was talking to it was a beat writer for the Wizards, and I was talking to him on social media on X and on Twitter, and I was like, we need a center. It was like, well, we could sign one in free agency. How many free agent centers are there? Are we going to sign any for 2 years or 3 years? Probably not. It's looking a lot like just everyone's readjusting right now because of that second apron. And I don't know when it's going to end. To your point earlier about LeBron, I think he may sign with the Cavs for 1 year and then be done after his time in LA. I think he's fine with the fact that he played with Bronny and he's cool with it. We know what Bronny's, we know what Bronny's, made of. At this point, you and I are better than Bronny, I think. And I will even put this up. My unborn son, also better than Bron. but look,
Ronnie just catching unnecessary strays right now for no reason.
Well, look, Bronny better have a good investment plan. Is all I'm saying. And
He's gonna be retiring at the same time as his dad.
yeah. It is what it is. I would like to see some form of dynasty. Like some sort of dynasty teams, but I need to see them like grow and then evolve, if that makes sense. So like the stars would get aged, and then you have like the new up and coming Bucks, and then the stars would retire, and you just continue on the dynasty. I would love.
You would have to be something. You would have to be something like the Thunder this year, where you won it ahead of schedule. Yeah. You're young. You don't have all the contracts, and you have a couple years before you hit that apron. That's the only way.
I think they may win another chip. To be honest, like I have a small list of teams that I'd love to win a chip. I want to see the T-Wolves win. I want to see the Thunder win another one. I'd also love to see a Thunder go back to Seattle, but that's not going to happen. That's not happening. And then I would say the third team that I would want, it's not going to be the Wizards because they're not even close. Maybe the Knicks. Why not? Because they're these franchises and fan bases that are starved. And, it's just better in some years when you have upstarts like the teams that I've mentioned that are, pretty decent. So that's my thought on the NBA trades.
Yeah, no, I mean, you hit it on the head right there, and you're completely right. If we are going to see any sort of dynasty in the NBA in the future with the financial restraints that they have put on teams with this, now you can't go above 220, 250 million, and you start to get all these things where they take draft picks, you lose all this stuff. It's very, very punitive in order to be able to have a lot of salary. So the only way in the future you do it is if you have something, again, like the Thunder, where you just were way ahead of schedule like they are. You have a lot of young talent, and you don't have a lot of big contracts, and you can try to win 2 or 3 within that first period, because after that, after about like SGA just signed a max. Holmgren's, if they keep him, is going to have to sign a max in the next year or 2. Then you got Jalen Williams, same thing. So they're going to eventually run into those problems. So they have to win now. But that's, again, the only way that you'll be able to do that going.
They will. They'll be okay. They'll be fine. Hopefully they'll figure it out. I'd like to see Boston have another resurgence, but they're 2 years away with Tatum on the shelf.
I think Boston definitely will, but you're right. With him being on the shelf, it will be a couple years, but I do not see them, having a long rebuilding period because they still have Tatum. Hopefully, if they won't trade Brown, but they probably will. But you still have Tatum, who's when you have a player that's one of the best in the league, they can carry a team to the championship every year as long as they have the pieces.
Who do they get for Brown?
By the way, Jaylen Brown.
Who do they?
Not a shop. No, they have not.
No. Who do they get for Brown if they trade him?
Oh, I wouldn't trade him at all. I love Jaylen Brown. I think Jaylen Brown is. I know a lot of people disagree with me, but I think Jaylen Brown can be a number 1 in this league, and I think he'll prove it this year.
I'd agree with
that.
But
I wouldn't trade Jaylen Brown at all. But if you are going to trade him, I mean, I don't know. Do you trade for a? I don't even know if there's anybody really worth that you might want to trade him for, unless you're looking at top tier players like a Jokic, like a Giannis, like something.
Jamal Murray's out there, but he's, I think, floating under the radar. Yeah.
I am not taking Jamal Murray for Jaylen Brown.
That's straight up.
You got to give me at least. We'll give you Jaylen Brown a couple more.
I'm talking NBA 2K trades at this point. Like, we would do like Brown for like Bones Highland, Jamal Murray, and like a first rounder going back to Boston or something.
Bones?
Yeah.
Wow. Didn't know he was going to get a shout out.
He's a fellow VCU alum. Of course.
Oh, okay. All right. There you go.
And Max Shugla is now in the league too. So shout out to all the VCU alums that made it into the league.
Yeah.
I know.
Right.
I know.
didn't know we were hyping up VCU today. Where's Shaka Smart at?
That was 10 years ago, bro. Shaka Smart's now he hasn't even coached for VCU in like 10 years.
He moved on to two more teams.
He's moved on to 2 more teams. Yeah, what are you talking about?
That's great. All right, let's move it on. Something else I know you want to talk about. The United States men's national soccer team last night lost to El Tri, Mexico, 2-1. They scored in the first 4 minutes, and everybody thought the United States had a chance to win the game. Instead, Mexico comes back, scores in the 30-something minute, and then in the 77th minute, they went ahead with the go-ahead goal. But just before that, Mexico has a very controversial play in which there was a clear handball by the Mexican player. He was literally laying on the ball with his hands on it. And
I didn't see it. If he's
and then Mexico
scored.
Yeah,
if he's laying on the ball, that's a handball. Like, stop. Yeah. You know,
it was clear. Yeah. But Mexico won 2-1 in the Gold Cup in front of 70,000 NRG Stadium, Houston, Texas. Edson Alvarez, 77-minute winner, went through. What were your thoughts on the U.S. men's national soccer team losing this game, but also just not looking good as a team in the past, 5
They need to be relevant again. When was the last time they were relevant? High school? 98? Mm-hmm. Seriously. I'm not messing around. I'm curious. If they were last relevant in 98.
You sounded like Joe Biden there. Seriously, folks. Seriously. I'm not kidding around with you. Seriously.
I'm not kidding around. Seriously, though. It was 98, was the last time, maybe. I think I root more for the women's national team than I do the men's, because the men's haven't been relevant since I was in high school. If you're not relevant and you keep cycling through coaches – and you still suck, maybe once again, like with the Nets front office, maybe it's the ownership, maybe it's maybe it's the GM, maybe it's it's not the players, or maybe it is the players. Maybe you're not getting the right players. Maybe you're not developing talent like you should be. How often do you see people playing soccer? Like generally, you see more female athletes playing female soccer players than you do male soccer players, I think.
And I think that also is attributed to the fact that women can't play football.
Yeah.
So there's a lesser option for them to play sports. So a lot more take to soccer, which is kind of similar as football on the field.
Right, of course. But still, like, if you want a national team that's going to be strong, of course. I mean, it's a lot like with hockey. I know you and I haven't really talked hockey much, but like with the Four Nations tournament, you put the best players on the ice. The U.S., Canada, Finland, and I forgot who the fourth was, but like the fourth team was. But you put the best, players on the ice. They have to put the best players on the pitch. If they're not going to, what are they doing? Now what does this mean? Does this mean they're not going to make the World Cup? The World Cup's in 2026. So if they don't make the World Cup, how's that going to look? Is the World Cup's in 28? I'm sorry. If
no, you had it right. It's next year.
Okay.
It's next year here.
Okay.
Yeah, so I believe they get an automatic entry because we're the home.
If we get automatic entry, it's going to be held to
we're just going to get bounced in the first round.
It's going to be June or July, right? It's going to be June or July when this thing happens. Okay, you and I, a year from now, whenever in 2026, we're going to come back. I mean, I'll make other appearances too, but let's talk about it then when they get bounced, because I bet you more people are going to want to pay attention to baseball or the All-Star break or something else, And when you said, hey, you want to talk about this, I thought you were going to say the Diddy trial, to be honest. But that's okay.
I'm going to ask you before you leave. I'm doing entertainment last because there's a subject I don't want to have you on for because I want to protect you.
Okay.
And it's about some sensitive stuff that I don't want to talk about with you on air because I don't want you to get in trouble.
Okay.
So I'm going to do entertainment
Okay.
last, but I am going to get your thoughts on Diddy. So don't
Okay.
worry about that. What I do want to say is, prayers up to Liverpool and Portugal soccer star Diogo Jota and his brother, who died in a single car crash in Spain. 28-year-old future soccer star and his brother unfortunately passed away. They did a tribute to him last night during the game when the Jimenez for Mexico scored in the 27th minute. He did a tribute to him. So prayers up to that guy and his family.
And can I know you probably talked about this before I jumped on. Can I just say also prayers and thoughts to those that and this is more newsworthy than entertainment, but those that lost their lives in the floods in Texas, like that was, Camp Mystic, I believe it was, where 100 people have gone missing and 34 or something were young girls. We're not going to get too much into it, but
if you have thoughts, I'm going to talk about that later. If you have any thoughts you want to give now, that's one of the issues I'm going to talk about after.
I'll tune in. I'll stay plugged into you because I want to at least listen. But
but give your thoughts now. Yeah,
I think that honestly that people should have evacuated sooner. I realize it's tough because right now they're placing blame on the National Weather Service, but
they said there was no warning. The people in Camp Mystic apparently didn't. Some of them did. Like I watched an interview with two boys today that said they were never warned about it at all. They just found rising waters in their campsite.
If they have rising waters in their campsite, I understand you there was no warning, possibly because there wasn't.
But just like be smart.
There wasn't a signal. Yeah, be smart. Like get to higher ground. Get out of there. We want you to. I was talking to someone else who sent her kids off to camp, and I was like, are they going to be safe? Because I don't know. I mean, I had no way of knowing. So whether these camps are in low-lying areas or not. But that's all I'll say about it at the moment. I'll wait to see what you've got to say. And then, if, we want to talk about it later, we can, you and I offline. But that's all I really have to say about it because I've just been watching news about that. It's just really sad. So
it's extremely sad, when you have any loss of life, but especially children, as they are obviously the future, and they have lots of unrealized and untapped potential inside of them. It's very sad to see something like that. So hopefully we pray that they all get found safely. I agree. I think you got to be smarter and just get out of there when things like that are happening. But at the same time, there has to be better warning. You can't tell me that these people are not getting any warning whatsoever, and not to necessarily, again, we're neutral on this program in terms of politics, but Donald Trump removed multiple people from the National Weather Service and other important positions that could have possibly given better prior warning had they had the number of personnel needed in important positions, which also contradicts what him and Sean Duffy did when they had all the stuff with the planes crashing.
There was a timeline that was released. I think CNN, MSNBC have it. Probably Fox News too. But there was at 6 the previous night, then 8. Then I think there was one at 1, then 4, then 5 the next morning.
So there was.
Okay. But again, if you don't have signal, you can't get those alerts. So, it doesn't matter if they follow the timeline or not. Maybe what this really just boils down to is more Wi-Fi infrastructure down south in rural areas. Maybe that's what maybe that's what this amounts to. So,
and maybe we just need more in general in terms of come on now. We're America. You mean to tell me we can't have power lines that run up in the mountains so we can have some is that not?
I can't even get it is a thing to an extent, but I can't even get like free messaging on Delta because their Wi-Fi messes up. Like, okay, thank you for the silver medallion status, But why did you why offer a service that doesn't really work?
Which also, by the way, is very much bullshit considering we're flying in the sky and you can't tell me that we can't get Wi-Fi from any of these satellites that we're up in the sky.
Yeah, we can. We totally can. Anyway.
All right, let's keep moving it on. Shout out my brother Skywalker Boxing Media. Y'all make sure you tap in with Skywalker Box Sale on Facebook, Skywalker Boxing Media on YouTube. Also make sure you tap in with 86 Boxing and Papi Chunyeo on Instagram, because this week the Boxing Voltron crew will be getting back together Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. We will be doing all the huge fights coming up. Amanda Serrano, Katie Taylor, Alexander Usyk, Daniel Dubois, Manny Pacquiao, Mario Barrios, Shakur Stevenson, William Zepeda. We will be talking all of this Thursday night at 8 p.m. on the Boxing Show. Y'all make sure you subscribe to Ball and Buds and tap in with Skywalker.
And Omar will sing. Omar will sing the Voltron song.
I will not. But let's quickly move on to the WNBA All-Star Game. I did want to announce the starters for this game. The WNBA starters are playing Sunday. They dropped the starters. The starters will include the captains, Nafisia Collier, your former MVP, and Caitlin Clark, obviously the spark plug for most discussions within the WNBA, and what we will also ask you about in a second. But fans, media's, players, they all vote these players in. So again, looking here at our starting lineup, you do have Caitlin Clark. You do have her teammate, Aaliyah Boston, who's one of the beasts in the league. Yes. You do have the aforementioned Nafisia Collier for the Lynx. You got Alicia Gray Star for Atlanta. She used to play for Las Vegas. And then you have the rookie, Paige Beckers, who is having one of the best rookie seasons in WNBA history and the first rookie ever to start a WNBA All-Star game, averaging 17.7 points and 5.5 assists per game. They will be playing against the other team that is going to be – now, these teams are going to be picked. That's why they're not on teams. These are not the teams. They're going to do like a draft like they do in the NBA. So we'll see what happens with that. But Sabrina Ionescu, we know she's a beast. Nneka Ogumawale, a former Notre Dame star. She's freaking awesome. Satul Sabali as well. She's really good. Brianna Stewart, we know Stewie. She's always been around, founder of Unrivaled. And finally, one of my favorites and probably my favorite player in the league, Asia Wilson for your Las Vegas Aces. What do you think about this All-Star?
I think it's great. I think that if you're drafted and you get Sabrina, you get Paige, you get Caitlin, you get Alicia and Brianna all on the same lineup, all on the same team, that's going to be scary. But I think it's going to be fun. I think they should do this like they did a couple years back, where you had whatchamacallit. You had oh boy, I'm blanking on his name. You had Kevin Durant and you had LeBron drafting, and you just had had like Charles Barkley making stupid comments. But it would be
that's what we should.
I would love to see that if at all possible. So we'll this is something that I'll probably tune in for, or at least catch the highlights of. Yeah. Just also
included not in starters though. I just want to let you know: Skylar Diggins, Ryan Howard, Kelsey Mitchell, Kelsey Plum, Angel Reese, who has the beef going on, beef with Caitlin Clark, Alyssa Thomas, Courtney Williams, and Jackie Young, also from Las Vegas. What I want to ask you about now, though, is that Caitlin Clark was voted as a captain, although there's a lot of backlash because there's a lot of better players that could have been included in the All-Star game, and that teams do not necessarily are not as low in the standings as the Indiana Fever are. How do you feel about Caitlin Clark seemingly being inserted into a starting lineup and captain that maybe she did not necessarily deserve based on play, not on popularity?
I'm okay with it because it is based off of popularity to an extent. And, if you're effectively the new face of the league and Angel Reese has decided to enter her Draymond Green era, then, by all means, like all you're doing is just you're. I hate to be I hate to be crass, but you're basically putting butts in seats. So, that's one of the reasons why, you get more people to watch the WNBA this way. And how many people actually knew that the WNBA was happening, the All-Star game was happening this weekend? That's probably not many. So like this helps move the needle a little bit. I do think that you might have more people watching. I think is it on Peacock or is it on ESPN?
That's a really good question.
Yeah.
I have no clue what it's on. I'm assuming it's on ESPN.
Okay.
I just assume. But I'll check. Keep talking. I'll check.
And so it would be nice to see them, see the captain's draft, and then we'll go from there. It would be interesting if she and Angel Reese are on the same team. I hope they squash their beef. Really, I and this may be a hot take, but like Angel Reese needs to figure out why she has a beef with Caitlin Clark, because from what I have seen, the games that I've watched where they're playing, she's the one who's instigating it. It's a lot like Draymond. Sometimes when Draymond Green does the same thing, it's like, not right now, please. Like, save that for the wrestling ring, or do it for in the off season. Just my take. Don't. I understand why they're doing it, because this is something that I was thinking about earlier. Before I got on the show, is that everything is more or less just specced out. You have a script for the NFL, you have a script for the NBA, you have a script for the WNBA. So like, maybe that's what's happening here. I don't know.
Another perfect segue. Chicago Sky forward Angel Reese became the latest WNBA high-profile star to call out the league's officiating, saying it has to be fixed. And I'm tired of this shit, after they lost 80-75 to the Lynx after only attempting 8 free throws to the 17 that the Lynx had. I don't think that's that big of a discrepancy. But she's not the first person to say this, obviously. There's a lot of players that have blasted the referees this year, including Indiana Fever coach Stephanie White and Kelsey Plum, who we talked about.
Yeah, I mean, if Kelsey Plum's doing it, and there are others, then perhaps there's some credence there with the refs. I think overall, systemically across sport, you have this issue where it's the ump show. The umps are looking to have, and it's a problem. I mean, it's a massive problem. Either they want the attention on them, or they're not getting paid enough. Which is it? And if they're not getting paid enough, then we have a whole nother issue that we need to sort out.
Yeah. That's a whole bigger issue. I think it's the attention part, but that's a whole big issue. But going back to the Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, I will push back with counterpoint.
Go ahead.
Yes, a lot of people agree with you, but I'm on the other side of things. I love Angel Reese's game, and while she's boisterous, she's a little bit arrogant, things like that. I don't necessarily think that she's causing any of the issues between Caitlin Clark. I think it is a lot more WNBA and media boosted than it is necessarily the two of them at all. And I honestly also, when looking at fouls that have happened between the two of them, I don't really think it was either or. I think it was just hard play that was coming between the two of them. And it makes Angel Reese look a little worse if she is the one that is doing things that are, like Draymond Green but at the same time, you could also look at that from the racial point of view and say, well, maybe a lot of people are just putting that on her because of her race versus the white people. And again, this goes into the white versus black thing that we had with Magic Johnson and Larry Bird back in the 80s. And the Celtics and Lakers. So what do you think about that?
I think if we're going back to that, I think first it's a tenuous time. I'm okay with it if you want to frame it that way. But okay, fine. Frame it as a Magic versus Bird.
I'm just asking. I'm not framing it. I'm just telling you what a lot of people.
No. I'm not saying you frame it. I'm saying I'm saying if the WNBA wants to frame it as a Magic versus Bird, like for the modern era, then okay, I understand that to an extent. But you're making her out to be a lot more like Draymond than Magic, you know? And don't get me started on how Draymond should be run out the league, because I think he should run out the league. And move Curry to Milwaukee. I'm just going to change things around is what I'm going to do.
None of that is happening.
But thank you for that. But yeah, no, we'll see how the draft shakes out. And is the game also going to be played this Sunday as well, or just the draft?
No, I think it's both the draft and the game the same night.
That's cool. Well, that should be fun to watch. You know, if Sunday night you don't have anything else to do, by all means.
I mean, there's not very many sports on right now. So. If
you don't want to watch Sunday Night Baseball, you know.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah, obviously, being baseball fans, we know. Well, we know there will be. Oh yeah, there will be Sunday night because that'll be the last game of the week.
Yeah, but no, next week should be this weekend should be fun.
Well, since you're here, I'm just going to keep it moving for 15 more minutes. So if you want to stay on and talk those topics, you can. And if you feel uncomfortable, you can always.
Okay. All right.
So I'll leave it up to you what you want to do.
I'll stay on for the time being.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, that's the end of the sports portion of our program. Again, please make sure you subscribe to Ball and Buzz. The rest of the week is going to be great. We're going to have baseball Wednesday, boxing Thursday. So please make sure, again, you're subscribed, BALLANDBUDS. And as well, hit that like button, whether you're watching now or on the replay. It does help. It helps us out whenever you can do it because, again, it boosts us up in the algorithm. So it's very valuable to us. And, hey, it's free to you. So hit us with that like, whatever you can. We appreciate it. All right. Moving on to the entertainment world. Before we actually get into the actual entertainment of things, I want to get your opinion. Last week, I had my show. I talked about the end of the Sean Diddy Combs case. So let's get into what happened. He was acquitted on 3 of the 5 charges, but he will be convicted on 2 federal felonies related to engagement or transportation to engage in prostitution. But those are the lesser counts. He did not get convicted for the higher counts of racketeering, conspiracy, and sex trafficking. He is expected, even though under the MANN violations that he has, which is the Mann Act, which is transportation of prostitution, he can get up to 20 years. But since he has no prior criminal history, the judge is not expected to give him anything close to that. And it is said legal experts are saying anywhere from 1.5 to 3 years only because of time served as well, which has been almost a year now. It's about a year and a half. So what are your whole thoughts on this wild case?
I have more thoughts that are going to extend your program, so I'll try to be as brief as I can be.
Cool. All right.
First, I think it's BS, respectfully. I'm not going to say the word. He only got charged with 2 out of the 5 crimes. Both of those 2 crimes will carry 10-year sentences. He will probably only serve 5 tops. That was my initial thought. That was my initial thought.
Is that with time served?
No, that's not with time served. So it could very well be 3 years. Okay. But again, like he can't say more money, more problems because, you know, this is a problem he created on his own. He can't. Yes. And he's not going to go bump, bump, bump in the night because, and I keep going on with this. I could.
Don't stretch it. Don't stretch it.
but the point is this. Like, you knew what you were doing. You knew what you were doing. Don't sit there and tell your kids, I'll be all right. Say you're sorry for messing up their lives. But more to the point, there's a reason why Mace left him. There's a reason why other people left him. There's a reason why he was doing what he was doing. And I'm actually heartbroken for Cassie Ventura because I thought there might be something that could stick there with the prostitution, with what she was being made to do. But the charges didn't
Well, they are getting him on the prostitution. They're just not getting him on.
No, they're not getting him on. My apologies. Yeah, they're not getting him on sex trafficking. And
Right.
I wish they were. I kind of wish they were, because the video evidence is there. The stories are real. She didn't make this up, and it just. If he goes to jail, hopefully R. Kelly is his sweet mate. I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of livid, to be honest, because I've given it some thought, but I am kind of livid that they didn't find charges that could stick. Because if you're going to do that kind of crime, if you're going to engage in those sorts of crimes, my view is that you should do the time. You did something wrong. You did it wrong. You let your freak offs go like a little too far, and you got to pay the piper. But I don't know how this is going to be received once he gets out of jail. If his career is over, great. I'm okay with it. Are you okay with it if his career is over?
Oh yeah, I don't care. I never liked his music anyways.
Oh, okay.
I did it. Obviously, love Biggie, and we wouldn't have Biggie without Diddy. But Diddy's music, personally, no, I never cared for Diddy's music, so I could care less. But a lot of people are saying, a lot of stars, including Suge Knight, who called in to CNN from jail, says that he's probably going to have a hit record in 6 months.
I mean,
and everybody will start dancing to it.
I mean, okay, we'll see what happens. I think music nowadays.
I don't think it'll be that soon, but I do believe that in America, if he got out of jail in a few years, I do believe that he would be welcomed right back into the entertainment.
I don't know if he would be immediately, because you see the kind of entertainment that's being put out nowadays. We're getting a lot of strays are being caught tonight, so this is going to be another thing that's going to get caught into the web. But music sucks now, so the bar is on the floor, to make a hit. So it's all he has to do is just rap for 15 seconds and he's got a viral TikTok hit.
That's it.
That's all he's got to do.
Yep. That's it.
But I am quite livid that he didn't get, because I feel bad for Cassie Ventura. So I'll just leave it there.
I mean, you should. Everybody should. That was disgusting what he did to her and other women. And do I think that they should have at least got him on sex trafficking, and they probably could have, yes. But in terms of the RICO and conspiracy, there's no fucking way. For racketeering and conspiracy that they were going to get him, because there just was no criminal enterprise. There was no business involved in the actual acts. It was just him being a nasty person.
And there, you can only be a nasty person for so long in this world before things catch up to you.
Damn it, man. What another great segue to the last story I'm going to talk about. And Amul can leave if he wants to, because this may get a little iffy there. But the Epstein files will not.
I'm going to leave.
You can jump out if you want.
I'm going to leave.
Hey. You know what? You know what's crazy is I forgot we were talking Diddy, and I didn't take the WNBA thing down. So now I'm gonna have to go back. I'll put a new video out, and I'll put a Diddy screenshot up there, so it doesn't.
Do you need me to come back and do a second hit or something? Okay.
That's an easy edit. All I gotta do is put an image.
Okay.
But before you leave, tell everybody where they can find you, what you're working on next, and all that good stuff.
AM23 Photography is where you can find me. I did send you a new logo. The 25th anniversary for the column will drop in August. It will be at least 3 pages, 4 pages, maybe 5. If you cry, good. Bring tissues, because we do go through a lot of stuff that we did that we talked about. And there's a lot of things we talked about in the last 25 years. But I would say the next thing that I'm working on is full moon shoot later on this week if the weather holds, and then Milky Way at the end of the month. Love to your family, of course, your folks, and have fun talking about Epstein, I guess.
Yeah. If you haven't checked out Amul's photography, definitely do, y'all. You are not going to be disappointed. My friend is an awesome, amazing photographer. He does really good shoots and awesome pictures. So please go ahead and support him. Again, AM23 Photography on Instagram. My brother Amul Madan, I appreciate you coming in. It's not going to be an easy subject talking Epstein, but
I know it won't. I know it won't. And when I come on next time, hopefully the site will be ready, so I'll be able to plug my site as well, because it'll be the same thing. But hopefully you can.
You mean the
website?
Are you revamping your current website, or are you doing
I'm building a new one. So I have two now.
Oh,
I have the column website, and then I have the photography gallery website. So
nice.
I blame Europe, because there were a lot of the galleries in Europe that wanted me to have a professional website and a professional Instagram. So that's it.
There you go.
Have a good night.
All right, cool. Well, thank you again, my brother.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate you. Be blessed.
Appreciate you as well. Have fun in Atlanta. Talk to you soon. Appreciate you. Bye.
All right, later. All right, cool. So, yes, indeedy, my brother Amul coming in as always. I truly appreciate him coming through and blessing the show with his knowledge of politics, the news, all that good stuff. He is very, very knowledgeable when it comes to all those things. I also appreciate his commentary on the Diddy case. But sometimes you got to get a little deeper into the mud, and you don't want to get your friends who actually have jobs that may matter be in positions where they may have to say something that could get them in trouble. I don't have that sort of issue, so I don't have to worry about that. So I can talk about whatever I want. So what has happened? What do we know about this situation? First of all, giving everybody backstory, and unless you've lived under a rock, I'm sure you know all about Jeffrey Epstein and the apparent alleged nasty behavior and disgusting acts that he engaged in, including, and I hate to get into this sort of thing just because the things that is involved with it, but I do feel that it needs to be talked about because we heard all of these things about before President Donald Trump got elected, about the Epstein files being released, about the JFK files being released. Kash Patel, the FBI director, went into all of it about how they needed to be released and this and that and blah, blah. And now all of a sudden today we find out that the FBI and DOJ just so happened to conveniently say that the Epstein list had no evidence of even ever happening, that there was no client list whatsoever. But if we rewind back to just a few months ago, we remember we heard from Pam Bondi, right? We heard from Pam Bondi, who is the Attorney General, and said on Fox News,
I saw your appearance at CPAC.
Thank you to Fox News, by the way, for the video.
With Ben and with Ted Cruz. And one of the things that you alluded to, and this is something Donald Trump has talked about, the DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump. I'm reviewing that. I'm reviewing JFK files, MLK files. That's all in the process of being reviewed because that was done at the directive of the president from all of these agencies.
So have you seen anything there?
So to answer your question, she said not yet. She hadn't seen anything. But the point was that there was a list, right? So I didn't mean to cut the audio off early. I apologize for whoever's watching. The end of the audio said she had not seen anything yet that was conclusive evidence, but she had a list. So was this not a client list? What kind of list was this then? Because it's not as if the FBI and DOJ did not continue to go on and claim that they found thousands of images and hours of video of Jeffrey Epstein in compromising positions, including with minors. Over thousands of images and hours of video. That is disgusting. That is vile. That is just repulsive. It It is reprehensible, it is reprehensible. It is just disgusting that any person, and first of all, I can't believe any person in this world could ever be interested in anyone that is not an adult and of their own age group. But the fact that there is all these indications of things that he might have and allegedly did, why would we think that he acted alone? We know about his consigliere, Giselle Maxine. We know we've seen pictures of high-profile celebrities, including Donald Trump, President Donald Trump with him, right? Don't act like we haven't seen this picture right here, because we have. Now, does that mean that he had done anything with Mr. Epstein? We don't know. We don't know for sure, but what we do know is that there are a lot of celebrities, including our president, who were associated with Epstein. Now, whether or not they did anything is a whole nother issue that we have not found out about. And unfortunately, if the DOJ and the FBI is going to cover this up allegedly, and we're not going to find this client list, then we can never actually persecute or prosecute or give punishment to those who acted irresponsibly and unhumanely. And those people definitely need to be punished for their crime if they were involved with this. And if you're telling me that you have all this other evidence of things that Epstein did, thousands of images, hours of video, all this stuff, and you're telling me that no one else was involved, well, I'm going to tell you I got some beachfront property to sell you in Nashville. And we ain't nowhere near water, unless you're talking about a lake. And they suck. No, they don't really suck. They're cool. This is not cool. This is not. If there is a list, it needs to be released. And allegedly, a lot of people, including Elon Musk, said the reason the list wasn't going to be released is because President Donald Trump is on it. That's the allegations from Elon Musk and others. Whether it's true, we don't know, but we need to find out. If there's a list, it needs to be released. And apparently, according to Pam Bondi, there was a list. Now, all of a sudden, Kash Patel don't know nothing. When the JFK files came out, apparently now he's not involved. So he wanted all these conspiracies to come to the light, but now that he's actually in charge of bringing those conspiracies to the light, all of a sudden he don't know nothing and ain't got no control. All right. This is why you don't put sycophants of the people in charge under their administration. You have to have neutral parties, people from both sides of the aisle, and people who are going to not be yes men and yes women and do whatever that person wants to do. So again, I have the only opinion I have on this case is that if there is a list, it needs to be released because we need to know that these people are held accountable for their disgusting actions. And apparently there was a list. Now, allegedly there was, maybe there isn't. And if there is not, then hey, those people that would have been on those lists are going to be very lucky that they won't be punished to the fullest extent because they should be. And it just seems like it's kind of very convenient all of a sudden that it's not going to be released. Why? Usually things that aren't released are not released due to things that are in the information that they don't want to get out. And right now, the people in control, the people in power, may have a reason, allegedly, to keep that list from coming out. So we'll keep you updated on that. But obviously, I hope that, obviously Epstein can't pay for his crimes. He unalived himself, as the kids say, in jail. The DOJ and FBI also released 10 hours of video footage just to show that he wasn't unalived by someone. Like, we already knew he took his life because he knows what kind of disgusting, vile individual he was. And he knew he was going to be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law and be put to death, probably actually put to death. Probably, damn, why am I tripping right now? What do they call that? What do they call that? When they put the people to death. Not death row. I know it's death row, but what's it actually called? Damn it. Anyways, doesn't really matter. All right, but I did definitely need to talk about that because that definitely needs to be released and people need to be held accountable. Finally, in a couple other pieces of news here, there was an active shooter with a rifle and tactical gear reportedly shot at Border Patrol agents earlier today at an annex facility in Texas, injuring one local police officer, according to the Department of Homeland Security. And multiple reports, they shot and killed the gunman at a McAllen, Texas Border Patrol building. So the gunman was taken out by the Border Patrol after he tried to attack the Border Patrol in Texas. Prayers up to those Border Patrol agents. Hopefully everybody will turn out to be okay. Also, prayers up, as Amul mentioned earlier, at least 80 people, including 28 children, have passed away from the historic flash flooding in central Texas over the weekend. If you remember, Amul and I were talking earlier, at least 10 girls and one counselor are still missing from Camp Mystic, a Christian all-girls summer camp located along the Guadalupe River, also known as Flash Flood Alley, which will go back to what Amul and I were talking about. If you know you're in Flash Flood Alley due to the soil's inability to absorb water quickly, maybe we want to avoid going out this weekend because of the weather that's coming. Again, that is more on the weather service. That is on the town for not having proper warnings that can get out to such a secluded area like a campsite. That is on the politicians. That is on President Trump for removing people from the National Weather Service that could have helped. And yes, Amul pointed out that there were multiple, 5 at least, advisories, but not everybody's always going to get the advisory. That being said, these advisories shouldn't be coming out the night of. We are too high tech. We got damn weather satellites. You know this is coming at least a week in advance. I know it's supposed to thunderstorm for the next week in Nashville. I know I'm not going outside probably for the most part. We got to be better. We got to be better, especially protecting our children. The century-old camp housing roughly 750 children when the storm started, dropping several inches of rain per hour. River waters fueled by the moisture in the air rose 26 feet within 45 minutes shortly before daybreak on Friday, which, by the way, y'all, 26 feet is the equivalent of a month's worth of rain. So imagine you're already in a campsite that can hold or absorb water, and then you release 26 feet of rain. Or that can't be. Couldn't have been 26 feet. That had to be 26 inches, right? Hold on. Let me go back and make sure. It does say 26 feet. Okay. Oh, the river was 26 feet. Got it. Okay, within 45. Okay, I was about to say, ain't no way that's 26 feet of rain. So anyways, a month worth of rain. Want to make sure I wasn't confusing anybody. Unfortunately, or thankfully rather, over 850 people were rescued within the first 36 hours of the search, including other residents of other camps living in facilities nearby. But it is unclear why, these people weren't given prior pre-warning. Again, much earlier. So we'll see what happens. We'll keep you updated here. But as we talked about earlier, prayers up to all of these people, including the children. Hopefully they are found very, very soon, we pray, because obviously we don't want to lose anyone. No lives being lost are good, but especially not the lives of our children, who are the future of our human race. And you obviously don't want to be losing the future, and you don't want to lose anybody. And this is very sad. Prayers up again. I'm not going to bring politics into this sort of thing. I'll bring that up on next week's show. But things did happen that could have been better within the state of Texas, and maybe officials need to be held accountable within the state of Texas, just like they were in California when the wildfires happened. So, that being said, I wish you all blessings. I wish you all a blessed evening. Please, again, make sure you subscribe at Ball and Buds, BALLAND BUDS. That handy QR code up at the top will take you to our link tree. You can subscribe to our YouTube, subscribe or follow our Instagram. I put most of our live stream and pre-recorded videos on YouTube. I go live on Instagram, and I put pictures up on Instagram. So You're going to want to go to both as well. Our Twitter's there. You can find my business, MVP Specialty Marketing and Media Business. We are covering all the sports and entertainment within the Nashville area and going further into the United States. Also find Clubber D's TikTok and YouTube there as well. Make sure to support my brother's channels as he tries to grow. And that brings me to the last 2 points of the evening. Catch Clubber D, 86 Boxing, Papi Chungueo, Skywalker Boxing Media, and yours truly Thursday night, 8 Eastern for Boxing Champs Fight Picks. We're going to go over the Amanda Serrano, Katie Taylor, the Alexander Usyk, Daniel Dubois, the Manny Pacquiao, Mario Barrios, and the Shakur Stevenson, William Zepeda, upon much, much more boxing matches Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern. And the day before that, Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, my MLB insiders from Ball and Buds, Mike Wiebe and Shane Peacher, will be joining me, along with the Rec Rooms, Lion, Reese, Penn. My brother will also be joining us for an MLB All-Star Game mid-season review. So again, Wednesday, 8 Eastern, MLB baseball. Thursday, 8 Eastern, boxing, fight picks, and news. I love you. I thank you. I am so appreciative for all your support. Go out there, have an amazing Tuesday. Be blessed, be kind to each other, succeed, and spread love the Omar way. Holla! 5,000.
He's with the millions.
It's that world heavyweight flow. Championship belt wrapped around my waist, yo. I got that Ric Flair figure flow. Slam you on the pavement, that's why they call me Street Pro. Create heat on beat close. Like Jordan after the second time he three-peated. Folks, get ready, set, let's go. Fight toe to toe, release the flow created by this mic pro. Lights, camera, get low. Action packed, back to back. In fact, this monster will grow. Y'all better let him know. Man with the master plan, and you have no need to know. You came prepared, now get ready.